Hey guys, welcome back to the Around the Wicket YouTube channel. Today it's just me and Om, and we're going to talk about the future of Indian cricket, specifically leading up to our big marquee event this year, being the ODI World Cup in just a few months, which we are hosting at home. So it's a really important tournament, and we're just going to talk about what we think and the position the Indian team looks like in right now, heading into that World Cup, what changes we think need to be made, and if we think they're going to be made or not. So I'll just start this off talking about our openers. So based on our previous ODI series, our main three openers look to be Rohit Sharma, the captain, Shubman Gill, who's in great form, and Ishan Kishan, who scored that random 200 in Bangladesh. Um, Post IPL, do you think there are any possible changes to that? And even if you think they're more deserving candidates, do you think the Indian team will actually make those changes?
See, the Indian team seems like the kind of they seem like the kind of people to make those changes. With what they did with Ambati Raidu, what they did with Vijay Shankar, they seem like the people to give up on the bank of runs and change someone else. But I don't think they will. I mean the openers are settled in 11, but the debate of Vishen Kishan will always rage on. Personally, I wouldn't pick him in any team. Um, ODI, T20 or Test clearly, but you know, there is no one else. The other option is Shikhar Dhawan, and everyone else who could contend for that spot is way too inexperienced to even bother trying, right? So Shikhar Dhawan's the only other contender. If it was me, I would play him for the West Indies just to see how he's shaping up and whatnot. But clearly, it's not me. So you know, I would think Kishan would make the cut. And I don't think they'll make any drastic changes because if you look at the people they could bring in for drastic changes, it would be either um Ruturaj or Shaw or one of these guys, right? And they haven't really played a lot of cricket, international cricket that is. So doesn't look like the spot's up for much debate.
One thing I will say about the case of Shikhar Dhawan is, if you look at the last T20 World Cup, the series right before the World Cup against Australia, we did call back Mohammad Shami after like a year absence, and Umesh Yadav after 4 years absence from the T20 squad. So like really close to world tournaments, our team is known to make really random moves going back to experienced players. So maybe there's a slight possibility for Shikhar Dhawan to emerge back into the squad in that scenario.
Yeah, but they have gone back to younger players like Vijay Shankar. So might work both ways. Never know.
Moving on to like our middle order, obviously Virat Kohli is stable at number three, but this is where things get a bit tricky because, in my opinion, what our main middle order should look like would be uh, Rishabh Pant, KL Rahul, and Shreyas Iyer, I would assume. Um, do you think those are like our top three middle order picks? And it just so happens that all of them are injured. Uh, and so, okay, so forget about them for a moment. If they're not available for the World Cup, which is an unlikely scenario, but if they're not available, who would your replacement picks be?
I mean, then it becomes quite simple, right? Because then Suryakumar either picks himself, no matter what his performance has been, what his performance is, his consecutive ducks, it doesn't matter. He just picks himself because there's absolutely no one else. Then again, Ishan Kishan picks himself because there's no other keeper. Then you're faced with a conundrum. Do you play Kishan at 4 or 5 and do you play Gill opening? Or you play Kishan opening and Gill at 4 and 5? Obviously, you play Kishan opening and Gill at 4 and 5, but I don't think India would take that path because they want to settle top order. So I would think India play Kishan at whatever 4 and 5, and then I think Hardik picks himself for the number 6 spot because again there is no one else. So if these three guys are missing, the middle order just picks itself. There's no competition. But if these three guys are there, it would be interesting to see what middle order India goes with. because someone like a Suryakumar Yadav, he's someone that can take the match away from you. And if he doesn't play well, he's someone that can damage you drastically. Because I remember in one run chase against Australia, just in March, Suryakumar Yadav's wicket turned the tide. Because Suryakumar Yadav batted even 20 balls to get 20 runs. We had a chance of winning that game. But he got ducked by Stark or something like that. And suddenly we go into the lower order, the finishers, and you lose that. A number four is a very important position in ODI batting, because a number four usually plays that crucial middle phase where if you don't get runs, then you're just handicapped for the latter stages. So we need someone capable to bat through overs 30 or to 35, 40, maybe even 25, right? So Rishabh Pant would be the perfect option, backed up by KL Rahul. But if you don't have that, then it is what it is.
Now, coming back to the more realistic scenario of possibly Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul both coming back, it looks like they're targeting the Asia Cup. Do you think they just slot in at 4 and 5 straight away, or do you think there's a case to be made for other players?
I mean, I think KL Rahul slots himself at 5 no matter what. He's proven time and time again that he's a brilliant player
Also,
at
with no
5.
Rishabh Pant, you'll need a keeper.
Yeah, of course. So KL Rahul, yes, 5. I still think somewhere that Shreyas Iyer's spot is not fixed, because there's something missing, right? That's why they tried out Suryakumar Yadav. That's why Suryakumar Yadav made such big waves, right? So I feel that Shreyas Iyer's spot is not confirmed. If Shreyas Iyer is fit and ready, and Suryakumar Yadav has had bad performances like how he played in Australia, then I think he makes it easy for the management. But if Suryakumar Yadav does something insane in the Asia Cup or whatever, then the selectors have a headache. Do they pick a guy who's been injured forever and has played less games to come and play the World Cup, or do they pick someone who's in form, right? And at that point in time, I would go for Sky. But you know, um, generally speaking, with the trend, it's Shreyas Iyer right now. But Sky has to do something really special for him to come back. And I think Hardik picks himself at 6, Jadeja picks himself at 7, or the other way around. Why not? So that I don't think will ever be
Yeah.
a contention. You have to have them.
Yeah, so obviously it all depends on their return and how they look during the Asia Cup. And I agree with you. Hardik at 6 and Jadeja at 7 are really no-brainers because they bat and bowl. And you gotta lengthen that batting lineup and that bowling lineup as much as you can just for variety and option sake. Moving on from that, we'll talk about the fast bowlers first. So obviously you've got your pick of Jasprit Bumrah, who's also looking to target a return. You've got Mohammad Siraj, Mohammad Shami, and then you've got your two all-rounderish bowling all-rounders who are probably better at batting than bowling, Deepak Chahar and Shardul Thakur. And you also have some outside picks like an Umran Malik or uh, or possibly Prashad Krishna was in the scheme of things before he got injured. We don't know how that's going. But so your pace bowling department, um, first we'll do a scenario where Bumrah does not make it in time for the World Cup. Who would be your picks then? Let's just name three three picks if Bumrah does not make it, and three picks if Bumrah does make it.
See, if Bumrah does not make it, your top 3 picks, Shami and Siraj, have to pick themselves. Um, sure, WTC, they looked a tad bit off. They weren't able to bowl those deliveries, even though the ball was moving around. That would get the batsman out. They bowled wrong lengths, especially Siraj. Um, they seemed all over the place, right? But we've seen with the IPL, how good they are, how they can deliver consistently. So they pick themselves. And the third option, it's a tricky one, right? But for me, personally, it'll always be Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. I know he's not anywhere in the scheme of things, but he is, for me, the only option. Because if you pick someone like a Deepak Chahar, you just handicap yourself, right? I mean, sure, you battle 8, but that's not why you're picking it, right? That's not why you're picking him. If you see someone like the great Australian side, they didn't pick these guys so that they could bat till 11. They picked these guys so that they could destroy oppositions, and Deepak Chahar ain't destroying anyone. Okay. He gets the ball to swing in the first 5 overs, then he's absolutely useless. Right? He can't he can't get those wickets when we need them. He can't bowl the death. So he becomes irrelevant. Someone like an Umran Malik, he has not been used right in the IPL. When he's been brought into the ODI teams or T20 teams, sorry, he's given a buttload of runs. Doesn't make sense. Clearly not. Right? Someone like a Prasid Krishna, if he had been fully fit, I think he would have been the perfect number 3 choice for the bowler, because he, in his performances a couple of years ago, he was outstanding. He had the pace, he had the line and length, but then again, coming back from injury, coming into the ODI side, it'll take a lot for him, so not him too. So if Bumrah is injured, India in a precarious situation where they have to find someone out of nowhere, and they're going to have to start looking outside the box, because there really isn't anyone who creates that spark of people who are there in the box, right? Or the other guy, Shardul Thakur, like you mentioned. I mean, he's the guy with the golden arm, but do you really want him for a World Cup team? Is he really the kind of player that can win you World Cups, right? If you look back at 2011, someone like a Zahid Khan, he was the kind of player who would win you the World Cup, right? An interesting stat that is looked up is that Zahid Khan has never been wicketless in an ODI game that he has played. Never in his career has he played an ODI game, where he has been wicketless. And those are just insane stats that, the guys that win you World Cups, right? Shardul Thakur is another guy that will win you a World Cup. That's all I'll say. What would be your okay? If Bumrah was there, Bumrah, Shami Siraj, fairly simple. I don't think you can look elsewhere. If you have a fourth bowler in the squad, I think it has to be Shardul Thakur, just because he can bat. But all I'll say is he's not World Cup winning material. He's just a guy that's there, right? But what India can say is that I don't need Shardul Thakur to bowl 10 overs. I don't need Shardul Thakur as my third bowler. I need Shardul Thakur to bowl in 5 overs in the middle over phase, right? And I need him to, keep it tight, good economy, maybe pick up a couple of wickets with his golden arm, and then say, I need Hardik Pandya to come in and bowl 5 overs, right? Which might just work out for them. And it's what I think they'll do if there's no Bumrah. If there is Bumrah, three pick themselves, Hardik Pandya and Jadeja bowl 10 overs, and then you have the conundrum of the spinners. Now who would you pick?
Yeah, so obviously I agree with you. If Prasid Krishna was fit and available and had match practice, he would be a pretty good choice considering his performances. He's been a pretty good ODI bowler for us and looked like a great prospect in the longer formats of the game, regardless of his IPL performances. But I'm going to go under the assumption that he's not going to play because I think he's been out for more than 6 months right now, and we haven't got any update on his recovery and his recovery process. So if you consider Bumrah to not be available, obviously I'm not a big fan of Siraj. I think he is he's too like it depends on the day what Siraj is going to show up. He can be good, but he can also be really really bad. And in a crunch tournament like the World Cup, I don't think you can afford to take that risk. But Siraj is going to get picked. So I'm just gonna just assume that he's going to get picked. Along with that, Mohammad Shami, I think he can be a really vital asset, and obviously I would pick him too. For a third bowler, so four bowlers if Bumrah is not fit, so those two pick themselves. Um, I think obviously a left field option is Umran Malik. There have been rumors that he'll come back into the squad for West Indies. I hope that's not the case. I don't think he's good enough. And especially in a World Cup situation, you can't take that risk. like Vijay Shankar. They're just some players who aren't at that level yet. Um, yeah, so I would pick probably between Shardul Thakur and Deepak Chahar. I would definitely pick Shardul Thakur just because although Deepak Chahar has shown his capabilities with the bat, Shardul has just done it more times, and he has shown that he is reliable. Like you can count on him most of the time. He just scored a 50 in the WTC final. So I would pick Shardul, and as a fourth option, this would be tough. Obviously, Singh is another option we haven't mentioned, but yeah, it's really tough because if you actually look at it, without Bumrah, our pace lineup looks really weak. Now that I think about it, but yeah, you just gotta hope Hardik can bowl. And I'm hearing rumors that Hardik, that like some BCCI people want Hardik back in Tests. That would be a horrible idea, especially in a World Cup year. You do not want Hardik getting injured for the World Cup. So can we not do that, please? Yeah. Okay, so moving on from the pace bowlers onto the spinners department, and this is where we have a lot of options and a lot of different possibilities. So obviously Jadeja picks himself. Then you have an option between a few wrist spinners. So you got Kuldeep, Bishnoi, and Yuzvendra Chahal. And then you also have your finger spinners in there. So Akshar Patel and Washington Sundar are another couple of options. And if you include them, that also lengthens your batting lineup. So out of these guys, who would you pick? Let's just say one finger spinner and uh, two wrist spinners.
See, the thing with India has been they 2020 T20 World Cup, if I'm not wrong, or 2021. Yeah, 2021 T20 World Cup. They went in with Varun Chakravarti, Rahul Chahar, Ravichandran Ashwin, if I'm not wrong, right? And they dropped Yuzvendra Chahal, they dropped Kuldeep Yadav. That was the biggest blunder in the history of mankind, right? Because they went by IPL performances. They thought that these guys could do something. They experimented with them and it failed terribly, might add. A World Cup year or a World Cup is not meant for experimentation, right? Vijay Shankar was an experiment. Ambati Raidu was a proven number four, right? Um, Dinesh Karthik randomly popped up in the World Cup semi-final. Bowlers that I've just mentioned randomly made their way to the squad. So I think India have made poor decisions that's led them to lose without even playing the game, right? Another example would be picking Ashwin in 2021, not picking Ashwin in 2023 for the WTC finals, right? So India made these constant errors in judgment that's led them to, well, lose their upper hand even before the tournament has started or during the tournament, right? So I think India need to be very careful with their picks. And I would say back a mixture of experience and form and someone who's reliable. Because in the end, for a long tournament, you need consistency. You don't need someone who's going to come in and play one match out of eight. Well, right? You need someone who's going to be there to play well or well enough in five matches out of eight, right? Or something like that, right? That's what Virat Kohli did so well. Why is Virat Kohli considered so great, right? Every time he walked into the field, 2016, 2017, 2018, you expected him to score 100 or you anticipated it and he delivered. So you need someone like that. Now, Jadeja picks himself, as you said, clearly that's said and done. You have at least 7, 8 overs there and you have brilliant fielding at backward point, right? Now, the other bowler, Jadeja isn't someone you're going to rely on for wickets. In Test cricket, yes, he will get you a bucket load. But in ODI, he's not someone you're going to rely for wickets. That's why India moved on from Ashwin and Jadeja onto Kulcha, right? Because they could get those wickets in the middle overs. And they did so successfully for so many years, right? So if you were to pick two wrist spinners, has to be them. Finger spinner has to be Akshar Patel with his form, with his batting. There's no doubt about that. So these three, if there's a World Cup squad and if all three have to be in it, it's this, right? But now you face an issue where you have to pick only two, right? Because you can't have three, you can't have four spinners in your World Cup 15, right? Yeah, there's no space, if I'm not wrong. So I think Aksar has to be picked because he would act as a backup for Jadeja. And he'd act as the spinning option. And then I think there's a clash between the two titans, Chahal and Kuldeep, right? Kuldeep didn't have a good. Kuldeep had a substandard IPL. Let's be real. He was playing in Delhi, good bowling tracks, substandard IPL. Chahal, on the other hand, had a decent IPL. He started off well, trailed off towards the end. Rajasthan Royals used him differently, which didn't allow him to, perform in the phases he likes to, or bowl in the phases he likes to. He bowled 2 overs at the death, which is not who he is. So you can't judge him by those IPL performances, even though they were really good, right? So if I was to pick one out of Kuldeep and Chahal, I'd still pick Chahal over Kuldeep just because of what he can do in his consistency. Whereas Kuldeep Yadav is a better bowler when he has a good day, but Chahal just has the consistency, and consistency is something you want, right? Because if you take two guys, both are the best, one Kuldeep, one Chahal, I'd pick Kuldeep any day of the week because he left arm spinner first of all, China man, of course, gets the ball away from left-handers, right? Or whereas Jadeja gets the ball away from the right-handers, so you have that mix. The amount of spin he gets, how he's increased his pace, it all matters a lot, right? Those little things, that 5 kilometers per hour, matters so much in deceiving the batsman in the air, deceiving the batsman on the pitch, right? He's much better at that than Chahal, which is why I pick him. But in terms of consistency, Chahal just, goes one step up, and he's the kind of guy that will get you a couple of wickets every game, right? Whereas Kuldeep will get you 4 in one game and 0 in the next. So I think in a World Cup team, you need someone like a Chahal and not someone like a Kuldeep. That's how I would pick Chahal. You.
Yeah, so I disagree. So I think although Kuldeep, I do agree, had a disappointing IPL by the standards we expected. I don't think he had a bad IPL. If you look at his numbers, although he wasn't in the wicket taking charts, he did bowl really economically, and by watching, you could see that he
No,
developed his defense.
the economic bowling, I feel doesn't count for much because they're playing at Delhi. It's not going to give you a
No,
200 run.
even if you look at his other performances, he's been really economical, um and if you just watch, like, he's developed his defensive bowling a lot, and by that I mean not every ball like he used to previously. It isn't always like late 60s, early 70s miles per hour. He doesn't always toss it up. He's bowling flatter now. He's bowling faster, and a few times we've seen him bowl at the death, and he's not done really badly. He's done decently well for a spin bowler comparatively. Chahal, on the other hand, I think although he got wickets, I think he was shit just by looking at him. And I think that is also why Sanju Samson and the RR management didn't have trust in him to bowl his normal overs. And
Wait,
in
so you're telling me they didn't have trust in him to bowl normal overs, but they had trust in him to bowl at the death.
I'll tell you why.
That's bullshit.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you. So if you look at a lot of Rajasthan's games, where they were defending, a lot of it was down to obviously defending totals in close matches. So you would want to kill the game as early as possible. Thus, bowling people who you think are better as early as possible,
He
and
bowled at the
bowling who you
death.
think are shit at the end, which
He
is
bowled
why
at the
they
death
left
when they
Vinder
were
Chahal for the end.
they bowled
And
Chahal at the death
which
even
is
when they
why.
were bowling first.
Yeah, because he just sucks in general, dude. Like, I think
See,
they figured that out just
both bowlers
like I
have the
do.
merit. The easiest way to figure out who you should play for the World Cup is to play both bowlers in the same team in the West Indies as well as the Asia Cup. See who performs better and pick that person. I would do that because, see, we're sitting here talking about IPL performances. As we know, IPL does not matter for ODI cricket. It genuinely just doesn't, right? What you do in ODIs, you do in ODIs. What you do in IPL, you do in IPL. Then they don't match, right? Rohit has to be the world's best opener in ODI cricket. he has to be the world's worst player in IPL, right? The two formats don't coincide. So, of course, play both of them in the same team against the same opposition over the next few months, see who does better, and pick him.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. And based on previous ODIs over the last year, Kuldeep has obviously been performing, and Chahal has not.
No, see,
So I
the
would
thing
stick
is,
with.
you can't, like, if you see their games, they've been one-off games in random spots, right? So I don't feel you can judge them of that. Like, I can judge Kuldeep and Chahal off of 2018, off of 2019, because they played those 10 games, those 20 games in a row, right? But they just haven't been given that long run, especially Chahal. I don't think he's been given that long run,
I
which
think
leads.
Chahal got a longer run than Kuldeep because Kuldeep was dropped for 2021 almost entirely, and Chahal played all of those games. And there's a reason they brought Kuldeep back because Chahal was a big
See,
failure
leave
in ODI.
2021. That was
A
2 years
massive failure.
ago. That was 2 years ago. Okay. Both of
Yeah,
them, I
he was
feel,
a
are
massive
different.
failure. Then they got Kuldeep. Kuldeep did well, so they stuck with Kuldeep.
Hmm. Still, I feel
So
Chahal has changed as a bowler. So has Kuldeep, 100%. Both of them have improved their game. And I think it just depends on now. I think one of those two picks themselves. It has to be one of those two. It can't be anybody else. They just have to fight it out between themselves for that one spot.
yeah, so so that's for the wrist spinners. For the finger spinners, I think it gets a bit more tough. Um, because you have Akshar Patel and Washington Sundar. So obviously Akshar has been doing really well in Test cricket, and he's shown his improvement with the bat in IPL cricket also. Washington's been a bit injured, but when he played the ODIs against West Indies only back in March, whatever it was, he did well with the bat and with the ball. Um, I would not be surprised at all if they picked Akshar, and I wouldn't be mad also because like it's a solid choice. But if Washington is fit and available, I would pick him just to offer a slight contrast with Jadeja because Akshar and Jadeja both left armers, so just a slight variety. I would pick Washington, but again, I wouldn't be mad if they went with Akshar because he's a proven performer. What
See,
are your
again,
thoughts,
it
man?
depends. It depends on what spot the Indian selectors are picking them for. If Aksar is
So
there, as no see, if Aksar is there as a replacement for Jadeja, then Aksar makes sense.
I'm talking about as a possible third spinner role on certain pitches.
Yeah, I mean fair. Hmm. Fair. But see, if you're playing a third spinner role, I just feel that you want more batting than bowling in the bowler, and that's why I feel Aksar tops Washington. Because he's shown the batting capabilities not only in IPL but in Test cricket also. If you remember that 80 odd he scored against, he was India's best
To,
batsman in the Australia series.
to be fair, so has Washington. I mean, Washington has scored runs in Test cricket. He got a 96 not out against England. Remember when he was left stranded? Um, and
Yeah, I mean,
and
just saying
whenever he's been required to
yeah,
bat, he's never disappointed.
Aksar's performances have just been better recently.
To be fair,
Washington,
he's had more opportunities.
yeah, fair. But his performance has been better more recently. And Washington Sundar, see, we're looking at Washington Sundar, the batsman, from the perspective of Test cricket. We're looking at Aksar Patel, the batsman, from Test cricket and T20 cricket. And Washington Sundar just hasn't announced himself at the world stage, at the IPL stage, and T20 cricket as a batsman. It just Aksar just edges over.
Okay, so now I want to give you some left field options, and you can just reply yes or no if you think we're going to pick. And normally, if it was for any other team, I wouldn't ask these questions because it's the Indian cricket team, anything's possible. So, do you think Umesh Yadav can possibly make it back into the ODI team?
If Bumrah is injured, then yes. If Bumrah is there, no one stands a chance.
Okay, so just give yes or no. Do you think it's likely or not?
No, because I'm assuming that Bumrah will be fit. He's back. So
Yeah. Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Now, don't give me what you want. Give me what you think.
See, it all depends on Bumrah's injury. I'll give you the same answer. If Bumrah's injured, then yes, I feel that he will rely on the experience of Bhuvaneshwar. If Bumrah's not injured, then no. But I'm assuming that Bumrah's not going to be injured, so I'll say no.
Okay, now I'll give you a situation which doesn't depend on Bumrah. Do you think Ashwin can make it in?
No, I don't think there's any chance because hey, if you've been following Ashwin's comments, he's been bitching about his teammates and all that. So I don't think Ashwin doesn't even have an outside chance.
Okay, what do you think about the legend himself, Ajinkya Rahane, man of comebacks?
Absolutely no way.
Even with the middle order injury
Assume
situation.
all three middle order batsmen are injured. Even then, Ajinkya Rahane doesn't have an outside chance. There's just no way they're getting him back.
And finally, what about the man who had a brilliant IPL and who's known for being a surprise pick for World Cup squads? What about the main number four, the greatest Indian middle order batsman of all time, the greatest 3D player, Vijay Shankar? Do you think he makes it?
I think India is stupid enough to make the mistake once, but I don't think they'll do it twice.
So that's a no for Vijay Shankar. Disappointing. And like, to be honest, I think if Vijay Shankar gets picked, I wouldn't even be mad because of how funny it'll be. It'll just be so jokes that it'll be amazing. So I wouldn't be mad at that. Unlike the other picks, which I would not want.
Yeah, I mean, fair. But see, if you put Vijay Shankar here and Rahane there, I'd pick Rahane any day of the week. Vijay Shankar is just, I don't even know what to say, but he's
I
just,
would pick Vijay Shankar just because it's more funny, bro.
he just is.
Just because. I mean, if you're in a situation where you need to pick between Rahane and Vijay Shankar, does winning even matter anymore? Just do it for the jokes.
Fair.
So that's it for this episode, guys. It's something different. We didn't talk about a match, but we were talking about the road to the World Cup in general. But don't worry, guys, we got you covered with some more vlogs coming, and obviously the West Indies tour coming up. We've got an Ireland series, which I know Vivian's very excited to talk about, and then the Asia Cup, and then obviously the big tournament itself. So we've got a lot of content coming for you guys over the next few months. We hope you enjoy. That's it from us this time. Remember to like and subscribe and share and comment. And thanks.
Thank you guys. Bye.